Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is an article that strictly talks about SNAP benefits and the tensions that are building in the Trump era. So, how a fight over beef jerky reveals tension over SNAP in the Trump era. And so, I'm going to read this. These are things that have stood out. They're happening, everyday life issues that people wouldn't, consider, and maybe they're not aware that these things are going on, but some are. So how a fight over beef jerky reveals tensions over SNAP in the Trump era. This is by Allison Arbery. And so you see a picture here. A sign in the window of a New York City market advertises acceptance of food stamps, which are now in the form of a card called EBT. For roughly 40 million Americans, the SNAP program benefits are a lifeline. So the SNAP is abbreviated and it's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps, delivers about 60 billion in aid each year. So retailers that accept the SNAP benefits are required to stock a variety of staple foods, including a minimum number of fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, and grain options. So now there's a controversy brewing over which foods count as staples. So should beef jerky, spray cheese, and quesos dip count as food staples? So the Trump administration has proposed a rule that would allow retailers to include these items. So the Trump administration would weaken what stores would have to offer, says Margot Wooten of the Center for Science in the Public Interest, a consumer advocacy group. So she says that this could result in fewer healthy options in convenience and corner stores where SNAP recipients spend about 3 billion in benefits each year. So a rule written during the Obama administration would require retailers to stock at least 7 different products in each of the four key food categories. So fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, and grain. And so under the change proposed by the Trump administration, retailers could stock dried meats such as beef jerky and stable processed cheese products to help them meet their meat and dairy requirements. And this may offset the need for offer as many fresh meat and dairy products, but Wooten complained about this policy, so very few families would serve up a Slim Jim as the main course in their meal, she says. So it's a snack instead of a real meal. It's just those are snack foods. They're high in salt, high in carbs, high in fat and sugars and whatnot, and other things that aren't good for people. So as Wooten and I tour a convenience store in Washington D.C., she points to aisles filled with snack food. Almost all of this is chips, snacks, cakes, candy, she said. So she says SNAP benefits are intended to provide people with foods that they can cook at home, and it would be helpful if convenience stores made it possible for families to do a real shop for food that they can prepare in the meals. So Wooten says more like a grocery store instead. So studies have shown that a lack of easy access to healthy foods, whether it's due to living in urban food deserts or in rural areas with no supermarkets, is one of the contributors to poor nutrition and obesity. So, and it is also true that in some areas, convenience stores fill a gap. So, we offer the majority of food, says Robert Forsyth, who operates the Moto Mart chain of convenience stores across 6 Midwestern states, including Illinois, Wisconsin, and Ohio. So, his family has been in business for decades. So he says that there is a time when you would only see cigarettes and candy bars at the gas stations and stores. So we've been in the business for so long, we remember before convenience stores were really a thing, Forsyth says. So now people come in and buy orange juice and milk in our stores, apples, orange, bananas, he says. So he also points to an array of nuts, whole grain breads, and yogurts in his store stock. So lots of good, healthy products, he says. So Forsyth supports Trump's administration proposed rule changes. So in a letter to the USDA, is the Food and Drug Administration. So he asked the agency to give retailers even more flexibility in determining which foods meet the requirements. So he also defends products such as beef jerky, which he says are popular, nutritious, and affordable. So affordability is a huge aspect. Forsyth says. So he says he can only stay in the business if he sells items that people want to buy. So it doesn't do me any good to sell almond milk and goat cheese because he says his customers don't want them. So you've got to meet SNAP recipients where they are, Forsyth says. So, and he doesn't like the idea of beef jerky or processed cheese being singled out. So I think it's an elitist attitude. He says the rules written through the Obama era administration would have hurt his business. So the situation is the law would have squeezed out convenience store operators from being able to accept SNAP benefits. So he agrees that people should be taught more about good nutrition, but we need to educate people on their choices and we need to make sure that they have a variety of healthy choices to choose from, Forsyth says. But the rules shouldn't be so strict that they undermine his business as well. So he says if convenience stores were squeezed out of some of the small towns where he operates, such as Plover, Wisconsin, and Galion, Ohio, some of his customers who live miles from major supermarkets and don't have easy access to transportation would be left with fewer food shopping options. So the public comment period is proposed rule ends on Tuesday. So this is an issue apparently about what types of food you should be using. And I think I've heard this before where they've had this issue, like here in Los Angeles, where I remember as far back when it wasn't EBT, they were like paper, it looked like money, like play money. I'm just saying it looked like Monopoly money. That's what it looked like to me. But they came in a booklet and people were like spending it in grocery stores. But then I know some people were using it at convenience stores and they couldn't get certain things like alcohol and beer with it. And so what some people would do is there would be somebody outside saying they would buy their food booklet and give them cash so that they can buy things that you can't get from the food stamps. And so that was illegal back then. And so I believe, I don't know how they're doing it now. There's other scams that they run every time they try to change things. There's new tricks that people will use to try to scam people some kind of way to get over, in the system of things. But what do you think about this? Because there are places I know, like they have Trader Joe's, we have Whole Foods, we have 365, I think that's what it's called. Certain little other whole food or little organic markets. But a lot of times when you go in some of these places, it's really pricey, or you get a small quantity and you have to keep coming back. Um, uh, if you want healthy or organic types food or food that is, grass fed, cows. So if you're getting like real meat, you're not getting, this other meat that's been put you know, injected with, they put some kind of chemicals in it. And a lot of times you'll go in some stores and the apples are really, really red, but it's dye. It's not really red apples. So, some people will shop in Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and other stores. And recently, Whole Foods Market out here in Los Angeles has lowered their produce prices, supposedly. I haven't tried it yet. I know I've gone in Whole Foods myself, but usually for a specific things like maybe some seafood or different things like that that I know I can't get from one other store. So it's like the go-to store. Like if you're looking for certain things, certain drinks, things that are organic or things that are healthy that you can't get out of like maybe Ralph's, or you can't get out of Food for Less. And so the prices of these stores are what like if, for example, if you go in Ralph's, you might get, if you spend $80, you might have four or five bags of groceries. You go in Whole Foods and you spend $80, you might have two two bags of groceries, and it's not even that full. That's how expensive it is when you go to these health food stores. And so that's why they used to call Whole Foods Whole Paycheck, because by the time you get through spending your money, you don't have any money left. So I know in the downtown area of Los Angeles, there's a Whole Foods Market. There's a lot of Trader Joe's, I've seen in a lot of different places, but I think it's actually, this is my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is. I think Trader Joe's is a little less expensive than Whole Foods. Whole Foods is more expensive. But if you go in Whole Foods, what they do offer is they have like a food bar. They have different food bars. They have a seafood bar. They have American food bar. They have all kinds of stuff. And then they have, you know, um, like different, how would you say, like supplements, different soaps, different kinds of things that you can use on your skin that is like supposedly, it doesn't have any dyes, it doesn't have any, it's organic. They have a lot of food that doesn't have GMOs, that is gluten free. You can find stuff like that in Ralph's, but you have to really like read the boxes and stuff. Supposedly, when you go into like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, you know that those places, those stores, cater to that type of atmosphere, the food that is healthy, that is. And so, to for those that are wine drinkers, they have like an excellent selection on wine in Whole Foods Market. It's the variety is like really great, but I'm not a drinker. But what I do know is that I do see that they have like a wide variety of selection of that liqueur. Um, Also, their produce are organic, supposedly. Now, what I heard someone say in the past, they said a lot of times people will lie and slap a label on stuff and say it's organic, and it really isn't. So I guess it's for the consumer to be aware and read the labels, find out what's in it, what's not in it, and if you trust the credibility of that product where it's from, then you feel that, oh, I think this is really organic. It isn't fake. You know, they're not just putting a label on it just to make money off of consumers. Then I guess you go with that product. But I did hear that some people have been doing that. They'll slap a label on things, say it's organic, and it really isn't. It's just like the water companies. They'll slap a label on the water and say that this water is natural spring water, and it's clear and fresh, and it doesn't have any metals in it, and we had an excellent filtration system, and it turns out to be tap water. And they just slapped a nice label on it, and you're paying money for tap water. So what are your thoughts and feedback on this? Because there are a lot of food deserts in these urban areas and outside of urban areas, as they say in this article. But I guess we shall see how this plays out as well. So it's all connected, if you ask me. We go from homelessness to having to fight over what kinds of foods and where you're going to shop at. And of course, if you're moving people out of their apartments and their homes, they're not going to have places to cook. If they're living out of their cars, living out of hotels and motels, maybe if any of them have, maybe they'll have a hot plate, as they call it. It's like a little thing that it heats up its skillet or something. But some people don't have, cooking in a cooking area, so they might have to eat from convenience stores, and that might be the reason why you have some people will go to these stores because that's all that they can afford and the closest store that they can get to. So, having said that, I'm going to let this video go. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for listening.